Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. This story is about, what if Naruto never lost his parents? Be sure to like, subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't done so already. I wish you a pleasant time while listening, so let's jump straight into it. Chapter 8. 7 years after the Kyubi incident. At the Uchiha Naka Shrine. The Naka Shrine is the most sacred place for the Uchihas. It's located at the Uchiha compound. In the main hall, beneath the 7th tatami mat from the far right, is a secret meeting place of the Uchiha clan. There stood a stone monument which contains the clan's secrets and can only be read with specific dojutsu. Those dojutsu were the Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan and the rinnegan. The stone tablet is said to be carved by the sage of the six paths himself. In the Naka shrine stood 37 Uchihas. All of them were shinobi ranging from genin to jonin. A person stood in front of the tablet facing backwards. He had short, brown hair that reached to his shoulders and onyx-colored eyes, with visible creases below them made more pronounced whenever he adopted a stern look. He wore a simple kimono with gray pants and a black shirt with the Konoha Military Police Force symbol on the shoulders with shin guards. One of the Uchihas called out to the man, "Fugaku-sama, is there a reason you called us?" The man now known as Fugaku turned to face the Uchihas and said, "Yes. Reason being, it's time the Uchihas rule." The Uchihas gasped. One of them spoke, "Are we going to ask one of us to be Hokage?" Fugaku nodded and glanced at a boy who had short, unkempt, dark-colored hair, black eyes and a relatively broad nose and well-defined eyelashes, that turns upwards at each end. Fugaku spoke. "Shursui Uchiha, come forward." The boy now known as Shursui came forward and stared at Fugaku. After a while he spoke, "Yes, Fugaku-sama." Fugaku spoke, "You are to put Minato Namikaze under your Koto Amatsukami and make him willingly give the position of Hokage to me." Shursui spoke without any emotions, "Yes, Fugaku-sama," and he walked back. The Uchihas were delighted that they were finally going to get the luxury they deserved. After a minute Fugaku spoke again, "We are going to aid Shursui by assassinating Kushina Uzumaki and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Konoha will be ours." All the Uchihas cheered except for Shursui, who left the Naka shrine. At Uchiha Mikoto's house. Mikoto was sitting in the living room drinking her tea since she had just tucked Sasuke into bed 30 minutes ago and Itachi had just come back from his mission. They were talking about Itachi's mission until they heard a knock on the door. Itachi got up to open the door. Once he opened the door he saw his best friend, Shursui Uchiha. He spoke. "Shursui, isn't it too late for a meeting?" Shursui smirked and said, "The sun shines in the west." Itachi got serious at the phrase since it was a secret code which meant war is about to break out. He let Shursui in and they both sat in the living room with Itachi next to Mikoto and Shursui sitting opposite Mikoto. Itachi then spoke, "What's going on, Shursui?" Shursui replied, "Fugaku is going to make me cast the Koto Amatsukami on the Hokage and make it seem like he is going to make Fugaku the Hokage. He has also said that while I do that he and the other Uchihas will eliminate Kushina and Naruto-sama." Itachi and Mikoto gasped. They didn't believe that Fugaku would go so low as to actually ask Shursui to put the fourth under a genjutsu. On top of it all, Fugaku had asked to eliminate Kushina and Naruto. Itachi was furious but didn't show it. He had known his father since he was 2. He saw him abandon his mother and was angry. He promised not to get carried with hate, but this time he crossed the line. He then asked, "How many Uchihas are participating in the plan?" Shursui immediately said, 36 Uchihas excluding me." Mikoto then spoke, "Itachi, Shursui informed this to the Hokage at once." They both nodded and shunshined to the Namikaze compound. At the Namikaze compound, Naruto had just fallen asleep. Minato was in his study while Kushina had gone off to sleep as well. Suddenly, he felt a chakra spike and he spoke with a stern voice. "Itachi, "Shursui, why have you come to my house at this hour?" The duo came in the house and bowed to the Hokage. Both spoke simultaneously. "Hokage-sama, Fugaku Uchiha is planning to be the next Hokage and wants to assassinate your family." Minato was surprised and asked them to explain. After the explanation, he said, "I see. Since the clan head isn't aware of this, I will speak with him tomorrow." Dismissed, Itachi and Shursui nodded and shined away. After they went, Minato thought, "I have got to find a way to stop this," before he himself went to bed. Next day. Hokage Tower. Minato had gotten early to the tower and asked an ANBU to bring Obito Uchiha. He was currently waiting for him to arrive. Suddenly he saw a black swirl and Obito appeared out of it. Minato spoke. "Obito, how is the clan holding?" "Stable as always, Minato-sensei, except for some stuck-up bastards." "Is there anything wrong?" Obito asked, since he had kept a good eye on the clan. Minato said, "Fugaku with 36 other members is planning to put me in a genjutsu and make me declare him as Hokage of the Leaf." Obito was surprised that some Uchihas would backstab him. He had to find a way to stop the attack. He thought for a while and said, "Why don't we put Fugaku in the Koto Amatsukami?" Minato replied. "It would be too suspicious, since he was the one that made plans. Seeing him back down would make them suspicious of Shursui, since he is the one who can use the Koto Amatsukami." Obito looked down but couldn't find any other way to get Fugaku to listen. He then said, "We have no other choice but to secretly eliminate the Uchiha before they put the plan into action." Minato's eyes widened and asked, "Are you sure? You know this will cause a major backlash in the Uchiha police force." Obito smirked and said, "The Uchiha police force will become the Leaf's police force, meaning genin who have failed the shinobi examination can join the police force." Minato smiled and said, "You have thought this through. Very well, but who is going to assassinate the Uchiha?" Obito looked down and said, "I will, sensei. It's my responsibility as clan head, and I will eliminate the people who have participated in the coup." Minato nodded, seeing there was no other option, and said, "I will send some ANBU to clean up after the assassination is over." Dismissed, Obito nodded and swirled away to prepare for the assassination. In the evening. At the Uchiha main house. Obito was stressed. In a few minutes, he had to assassinate 36 members of the Uchiha clan. He wanted to do it peacefully, but he didn't find an option, and now he had no other choice but to assassinate the members. He wore a black full-sleeve shirt and pants with a mask covering his face except for his eyes. He wore a gray chestplate and strapped a tanto to his back. He then swirled away to each member's house. At Fugaku's house. Fugaku was sitting in the living room drinking his tea when he heard footsteps coming from the hallway. He was thinking who imbecile would break in an Uchiha house at this hour. He ran to the hallway and saw his new wife lying on the ground. Suddenly, he felt a sword stab his heart and fell to the ground. Before he died, he asked, "Who?" in a weak voice. The man didn't reply but saw the Mangekyo Sharingan and recognized he was Obito Uchiha. Once Fugaku died, Obito prepared to swirl but was stopped when he saw a girl running towards him. He quickly deactivated the Sharingan to avoid suspicions, and when she saw Fugaku dead she screamed, "No!" and charged at Obito. She tried to punch Obito, but Obito shined behind her and knocked her out. Before she closed her eyes, Obito saw her Sharingan awakened. Once she passed out, he thought, "Fugaku, you planned a coup d'état and you didn't even care if your daughter would be safe? How pathetic of you. I will take you to Mikoto's house." He picked up the girl and swirled away to Mikoto's house. At Mikoto's house. Mikoto heard about the plan from the Hokage, and she quickly put Sasuke to sleep early and said to him that she will teach him the Sharingan abilities in the morning. She was furious that Fugaku would backstab the person she trusted, the clan head. She was deep in thought until a knock on the door broke her thoughts. She went and opened the door. She saw Obito with another girl lying on his shoulder. Mikoto asked, "Obito, what's going on?" Obito sighed and said, This is Fugaku's daughter. After he abandoned you he married another Uchiha and they gave birth to this young one. Mikoto was shocked. To think that he would pull a coup on the Hokage while taking care of his daughter. Obito continued, for now I will put her in your care since both her parents were in the coup. Mikoto nodded. She held a grudge against Fugaku but she was willing to take the child and make her one of her own. Mikoto then replied, I will take care of her. For now I have to wait before she wakes up. Obito nodded and left the house. At the Namikaze compound. Minato was stressed since he wouldn't know what would happen. Since Obito agreed with the assassination he was sure that Obito with no doubt complete it. His thoughts were broken when Obito appeared in front of him and said, mission accomplished, Minato-sensei. Minato gave a sigh of relief and said, report. Obito nodded and gave the full report. In the end Obito asked, Hokage-sama, what should we do with Fugaku's daughter? Minato couldn't help but feel sad for the girl. He himself had been alone until he found Kushina. It couldn't be helped since Fugaku was an evil man from the beginning. He closed his eyes and opened them again while he spoke, ask Mikoto to take care of her, she will be able to help her. Obito nodded and swirled away. Next morning. At Mikoto's house. Mikoto was cooking breakfast for Itachi, Sasuke, and Fugaku's daughter. Itachi was sitting at the table while Sasuke and the girl were still sleeping. Once she finished she asked Itachi to call down Sasuke while she went to bring the girl. She opened the guest bedroom door to see the girl wide awake and was wondering where she was. Once she saw Mikoto she started getting scared. Mikoto seeing her frightened face spoke. Hello, the girl didn't respond but calmed down when she saw Mikoto wasn't going to hurt her. Mikoto went to her side and sat next to her. The girl started crying when she remembered what happened last night. Mikoto asked, what happened? The girl finally replied, an intruder came into my house and stabbed T2-san and Keika-chan. I was too weak to save them. Mikoto felt bad for the girl. If Fugaku hadn't made the plan then he would have never died and the girl would never had come here. Once the girl calmed down a bit Mikoto asked, may I ask what's your name? The girl replied weakly, Kasumi Uchiha. Mikoto smiled and said, that's a sweet name Kasumi-chan. The girl now known as Kasumi smiled and said, thank you. It was a name given by my mother. Mikoto nodded and said, we live near your Two-san's house when we saw him on the ground and you knocked so we took you. If the intruder came back to finish the job, Kasumi was grateful to Mikoto since she wouldn't have known what would happen if she died. Mikoto asked, how old are you Kasumi-chan? Kasumi replied, I am 5. Suddenly, the door opened and Mikoto saw Itachi and Sasuke walk in. Mikoto said, well, Kasumi-chan, meet your new brothers Itachi and Sasuke. Kasumi was surprised and asked, what do you mean? Mikoto chuckled and said, I'm adopting you since your Two-san and I were close in some way. Kasumi smiled and cried out of joy since she will not be alone. Sasuke walked up to her and asked, since you are in our family, let's go have breakfast. What do you say, Ne-chan? Kasumi was shocked since the brothers had already accepted her. She nodded and they all went to the kitchen for breakfast. Chapter 9. 1 year later. At the Namikaze compound. Naruto, wake up already. Kushina said. Not today. Naruto said, still sleeping. Naruto, today is your first day at the academy. If you don't get up you will be late. Naruto's eyes jerked open and looked at his mom and said. I completely forgot. Kushina facepalmed and said, now will you get up? Ishido is already downstairs waiting for you. Kushina then walked out of the room giving Naruto his privacy. Naruto sprinted to his closet, grabbed his orange shirt and green shorts and wore it. He sprinted downstairs and where Kushina just finished his pancakes and Ishido was having his raw steak. Good morning, Naruto, Ishido said, wagging his tail. Good morning, Ishido. Naruto replied and sat down the table eating his pancakes. After he ate his pancakes, Ishido jumped on his head and before they left Minato spoke. Hey Naruto, said Blonde turned to him. He continued, let me flash you to school on your first day so you don't have to worry being late. Naruto went to his father and they both hireshined to the academy. At the academy, Konoha's Shinobi Academy was founded by the second Hokage. It was quite large and comprised of several buildings. A 6-year-old is eligible to enter the academy, but most clans prefer 8 since the generation matures enough to understand. The curriculum is divided into 7 topics: taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, history of the shinobi culture, mathematics, science, geography. These topics carry on for 4 years when they are eligible to graduate. Some people get chosen to be a ninja quicker due to they being a genius or what they call a prodigy. Everybody ranging from 8 and above were walking through the academy doors. Either they were talking with friends or making friends. All of them went to sit in their classroom. Outside the academy a yellow flash appeared and vanished. There appeared Naruto, Ishido and Minato. Minato smiled at Naruto and said, "Go on Naruto-kun, Kushina-chan will pick you up after school." Ishido, make sure Naruto stays out of trouble. With that, Minato flashed away and Naruto ran to his classroom. Once he entered the classroom, he saw many children talking to each other. He scanned the classroom and found his friends Hinata and Sasuke. He ran to Sasuke and said, "Hey Sasuke, what's up?" Sasuke smiled seeing his friend and Ishido. "Ask them to sit." Naruto sat down next to Sasuke while Ishido sat on Naruto's head. Sasuke chuckled and asked, "Is he always on your head like that?" Ishido and Naruto both nodded. Naruto then noticed a black-haired girl sitting next to Sasuke staring outside through the Naruto. Naruto asked Sasuke, "Who is she, Sasuke?" Sasuke smiled and said, "Her name is Kasumi, she stays with us. Ka-san adopted her last year." Naruto nodded and called out, Kasumi." Said girl turned her head to face a blonde figure. Naruto continued, "My name is Naruto and I am Sasuke's friend. It's nice to meet you. Will you be my friend as well?" Kasumi was surprised that Sasuke's friend was as kind as him. She smiled and nodded. She then noticed a white fox on the blonde's head. Her curiosity got the better of her and she asked, "Naruto, who is the fox?" Ishido looked at Kasumi and answered himself, "My name is Ishido and Naruto is my friend." Kasumi sputtered in surprise, "Why you can TT talk?" Ishido just nodded and scampered to her so she can pet him. Kasumi did and Ishido said, "Soft hands." Kasumi turned pink at the compliment but scratched his ears anyways. After a while they saw the classroom door open and 2 men walked in. One had brown hair that he kept in a ponytail, dark eyes and a scar that runs across the bridge of his nose. The other one had white shoulder-length hair with a slight hint of blue and green eyes. Both men wore the standard attire of Konoha. The brown-haired man said, "Okay class, settle down." The students paid no heed to his words and kept on talking. The man repeated again but loudlier, "I said, settle down you brats." As soon as he said that his head grew to abnormal sizes while his body remained the same. Naruto, Sasuke and Kasumi shuddered looking at him and kept quiet. The others did so as well. The man started talking again, "Okay class. My name is Irika Yumino and this is my apprentice Mizuki. We will both be your classroom teachers for the whole semester." Irika took a deep breath and continued, "Now why don't you guys introduce yourselves when I call your names? You only need to say your name and dream." The students went and introduced themselves one by one. Naruto only paid attention to some of them like, "My name is Choji Akimichi and my dream is to have an all-you-can-eat buffet munch munch. My name is Shikamaru Nara and my dream is to have an average life, what a drag. My name is Kiba Inuzuka and this is Akamaru. My dream is to be the Hokage." Next his friends came up. "Min name is H Hinata Hyuga and my dream is to get rid of a P particular S seal. My name is Kasumi Uchiha and my dream is to get stronger to protect my friends and family. My name is Sasuke Uchiha and my dream is to be as great as my Nii-san. Then it was his turn. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and this is Ishido my friend. My dream is to become Hokage. The other students including Kasumi's eyes widened as they all stared at the blonde and the white fox who were retreating back to his seat. Kasumi spoke once he sat. You are the son of the fourth Hokage? Naruto nodded but frowned and said. Don't call me like I am some legendary person. My dad may have won his title, I have yet to win mine. Kasumi nodded because she knew. Once she was adopted, the Uchiha members started calling her Kasumi-sama just because she was adopted by a former clan head. After the introduction, Irika spoke again. Thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. Now we will start with. Naruto zoned out since he thought the lectures are going to be boring. 2 hours later. 2. Naruto heard a voice. Ruto. He heard it again. Naruto. Naruto jerked up and saw Irika staring at him. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly and said. I'm Irika-sensei, I might have slept a bit. Irika glared at him and said. Since you were sleeping, answer me this. Who was the first Hokage? Naruto immediately said Hashirama Senju was the first Hokage. Irika sighed and said, Naruto, if you know everything that doesn't mean you sleep in my class. Naruto nodded and said. Okay Irika-sensei, I will not sleep in your class from now on. Irika nodded then spoke to the entire class. Since the chapter finished, we will go to the academy training ground to practice your shuriken and kunai throwing. Everybody head out. Now, the class nodded and started heading to the training ground. Once they reached, Irika and Mizuki explained how to throw the shuriken and kunai. The class started picking and throwing the shuriken only for them to either miss them or hit the sides. Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke and Kasumi were the only ones who finished throwing the shuriken and kunai, with all of them reaching the bullseye. Irika and Mizuki had asked them to help with the other children. They did as they were told, and by the time they finished explaining, most of the clan heirs had gotten at least 2 bullseyes while rest of the shuriken and kunai hit the sides. A few minutes later the training stopped. Irika started speaking. Next we are moving on to ninjutsu. Before we start, does anyone want to show their ninjutsu? Naruto, Sasuke, Kasumi and Hinata raised their hands. Irika allowed them to come down. Irika then started with Hinata. Hinata activated her Byakugan and started building up chakra in her palm. Once her palm was full of chakra, she expelled it while calling out, 8 trigrams, air palm. A large wave of wind flew from her palm towards a log. The log scratched once the jutsu hit. Once she finished, Irika pointed to Kasumi. Kasumi nodded and started making hand signs. Once she finished, she called out, fire style, fireball jutsu. A large fireball flew out of her mouth towards the logs. Once it dispelled, the log was scorched. She stepped back and Sasuke stepped ahead. Sasuke started making hand signs as well. Once he finished, he called out, fire style, phoenix flower jutsu. Multiple fireballs came out of Sasuke's mouth and burned the already scorched log even more. Sasuke stepped back while he waited for Naruto's turn. Naruto walked ahead and turned back to the class. He made a cross hand sign and called out, multiple shadow clone jutsu. Out of nowhere 50 clones which looked like Naruto popped out of nowhere. Irika, Mizuki, and the rest of the class had their jaws dropped and the sheer amount of clones he made. After a while Irika cleared his throat and asked them to return to their classmates. He then showed them the leaf balancing exercise. Naruto and Hinata were able to do it first try since both of them had perfect chakra control. The rest of the class took half an hour to get it in 5 seconds. Naruto finally came to a conclusion. This is going to be long 4 years, he thought. After class, Naruto, Sasuke, Kasumi, Ishido, and Hinata were waiting for their parents to pick them up until they heard, stop. They turned towards where they heard a sound and saw 3 boys bullying another kid. They ran towards them while Naruto called out. Hey, what do you think you guys are doing, huh? The 3 boys looked behind him and saw the group. They looked at each other then laughed while one of them cried out, look at these losers. They think that they can defeat us. Hinata went to the hurt boy while Naruto, Sasuke and Kasumi walked up to them and they all kicked their asses in their own ways. Naruto paralyzed one for 5 seconds while Sasuke kneed one in the stomach, making him clutch his stomach and groan in pain, while Kasumi just grabbed the last boy and pinned him on a tree with a kunai. The boys got up while the leader said, "Come on, let's get out of here." Once they left, they turned to the boy. The boy had shiny black hair, round eyes and abnormally thick eyebrows. Naruto then asked, "Hey, are you okay?" The boy just shook his head and said, "I can't be a shinobi." The group became confused. "Why not?" Hinata asked. "I can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. My chakra pathways are too small to produce them," the boy said. Sasuke then asked, "You have taijutsu, don't you? Why don't you focus on that?" The boy shook his head and said, "It's no use. The ninjutsu portion of the graduation exam is the reason why I am failing." Naruto thought for a while before he said, "I can ask my Tusan to see if he can help you pass the exam without the ninjutsu portion." The boy gave a questioning look and asked, "How would your Tusan help me?" Naruto giggled and said, "Because my father is the Hokage. I can just ask him to pass you from the ninjutsu portion." The boy perked up at that and asked, "Really? Hokage-sama would do that for me?" Naruto nodded. The boy suddenly groped Naruto and started crying, saying, "Thank you, thank you." After a while he calmed down and asked, "I only have taijutsu, though I can't be as good as you." Naruto shook his head while smiling and said, "You can beat us if you try hard. Besides, my Tusan always says that those who work hard to achieve their goals, that person is a true genius of hard work. Also, I know a jonin who has learnt taijutsu only. I will ask Tusan to get him to teach you. After all, we're friends, right?" The boy started stuttering but asked, "FFR friends?" Naruto nodded. He started crying and said, "You are the only one who has ever acknowledged me as a friend. Thank you, thank you." Naruto looked at his friends. When they nodded, he asked, What's your name?" The boy stood up and said, "My name is Rock Lee." "And who are you guys?" Naruto replied. "My name is Naruto," Naruto said. Hinata, Hinata said. Sasuke, Sasuke said. Kasumi, Kasumi said. After a few minutes, Kushina came to pick up Naruto. Naruto ran to her mother and said, "Ka-chan, can we go to Tusan? I have a favor to ask." Kushina then asked out of curiosity, "What favor, Naruto-kun?" Naruto then called Lee to him and said, "This is Rock Lee. He is a taijutsu-only user. He can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu because his chakra pathways are too small to produce chakra. I was going to ask Tusan to let him skip the ninjutsu portion of the exam and get him to train with the green suit guy." Kushina nodded and said, "Well, Lee-kun, let's go." Lee nodded and they all sunshined to the Hokage Tower. At the Hokage Tower, Minato was currently finishing a Fuinjutsu scroll while his shadow clones were doing the paperwork. He then heard a knock on the door. "Come in," he said. The door opened to find Naruto with Kushina and a boy. He then greeted, "Good afternoon, Naruto-kun, Kushina-chan. Who have we brought here?" Naruto greeted, "Good afternoon, Tusan. This here is Rock Lee and I came to ask a favor." "What favor?" Minato questioned. "You see, Rock Lee can't use ninjutsu and genjutsu due to his chakra pathways being very small to produce them. I was wondering, could you pass him from the ninjutsu portion of the graduation exam?" Minato thought for a while and said, "I could, but his taijutsu has to better than all the other people in the academy." Naruto then explained, "Rock Lee doesn't have anyone to teach him. The other favor is, can you summon that green suit guy to help Rock Lee?" Minato then said, "That's a great idea. I will inform Guy as soon as he returns from his mission. In the meantime, try to train as hard as possible, Lee-kun." Lee pumped his fist and said, "Yosh. I will do my best. Thank you for this opportunity, Hokage-sama." Minato chuckled at Lee's antics before he dismissed them. Chapter 10. 4 years later. At the Hokage office. Hokage-sama, we have bad news, an ANBU shinobi said. Minato was sitting on the couch reading a scroll and asked, "What's wrong? And don't tell me it's Naruto again." "It's Naruto, my lord. He has somehow snuck into the ANBU headquarters and painted the building in orange." Minato's eyes widened and asked, "How the hell did a 12-year-old sneak into the UMBU headquarters?" "I will find him. Inform Kushina." The shinobi nodded and shined away. Minato sighed and flashed to Naruto. In Konoha, Naruto was currently playing one of his pranks on the ANBU. He had somehow snuck into the ANBU HQ and he decided to set them off by painting the HQ bright orange. He was right now out running the ANBU. He then created a shadow clone and he split up. The ANBU were following the clone while Naruto was in an alleyway. Suddenly he started shivering and looked behind him to see his father glaring at him. He spoke but stuttered. "Hey T2-san, how's it been in your office?" Minato sighed and said. "Naruto, you are coming with me back home." "Come on now." Naruto nodded his hands on Tusan's cloak and they flashed back home. At the Namikaze compound. Kushina had just received the news. Once the shinobi left, she sat on the couch laughing madly. Once Minato and Naruto came in, saw Kushina's state. Minato's sweat dropped while his son had his trademark grin facing him. Once Kushina saw them. She controlled herself but still couldn't stop the grin while she said, "Tsu, my Sochi prank the ANBU, huh?" Naruto just scratched his head and said, "I had no idea it was the ANBU HQ. I just snuck into an open window which led to a bathroom. I opened the door and found out it was empty, but there was stuff which said people were leaving here. The building looked boring, so I decided to lighten up the place." He stressed on the word lighten, which made Kushina laugh even more. Minato just sighed since he couldn't help but chuckle since the prank was indeed funny and said, "Okay Naruto. Make sure to get ready for tomorrow since it's your graduation exam tomorrow." Naruto nodded and went to do what he was told to. Next day. At the academy. "Settle down brats," Irika said with his big head jutsu making everyone shudder. Irika then cleared his throat and said, "Okay class, today is the graduation exam. The exam will be divided into 4 portions, namely, the written exam, the athletic exam, taijutsu, ninjutsu and shurikenjutsu. Any questions?" Nobody answered and Irika continued, "Okay, let's begin the exam." Currently Mizuki was handing out the exam papers. Sasuke and Kasumi were sitting in the front while Naruto, Ishido and Hinata were sitting behind them. Behind them was Shikamaru and Kiba. They all were waiting for Irika to begin the exam. Once the final test paper was handed out, Irika said, "Begin." Half an hour later, Naruto and the class had finished the paper and everyone left towards the obstacle course. Once they arrived, Irika began. "Okay class, the goal is to pass the obstacle course under 1 minute. The person who reaches the fastest gets extra points. Let's begin." The obstacle course was to climb a warped wall and to slide from the rope on the other side, then jump on bars and swing to the next platform. Next you had to swim through water for 25 meters, with the final one you had to climb a tree. Half of the class managed to pass through while the rest made it past a minute. Naruto with all the clan heads passed with no problem. A few citizens had passed as well. Once they finished, Irika announced. First came was Naruto with 7.3 seconds. Barely passed Kakashi Hatake by 0.2 seconds. Naruto grinned at that because he passed his surrogate brother. Second came was Sasuke with 7.9 seconds. Sasuke smiled seeing he was next to his friend in the position. Third came was Kasumi and Hinata with a tie of 8.2 seconds. Kasumi and Hinata looked at each other and high-fived. Hinata was happy she came third while Kasumi was glad she was able to catch up. Flashback no jutsu wish. 3 years ago. Kasumi-chan, come fast. Naruto called out to her. Kasumi, Naruto, Hinata and Sasuke were going to train at the Hokage's training ground. Naruto was running ahead of everyone with Ishito on his head, followed by Sasuke and then Hinata. The last was Kasumi since she didn't have enough stamina. At the Hokage's training ground. "Guys! Wait up!" Kasumi said. Once they arrived at the training ground, Kasumi was exhausted. Naruto, Sasuke and Hinata were used to it since Hinata used to train with her father while Sasuke and Naruto trained together. Kasumi, since she was adopted recently, her late father hadn't started teaching her yet and her body wasn't fit to be a shinobi yet. She promptly sat next to a tree with Sasuke and Hinata panting. She looked at Naruto and saw that he wasn't winded at all. She asked, "Hey Naruto?" Said blonde turned his attention to him. "Yes Kasumi-chan?" Kasumi ignored the suffix since she knew Naruto just liked to add a suffix to be polite. She asked. "Naruto, how are you not tired?" Naruto and Sasuke chuckled since that was Sasuke's first reaction as well, but Naruto answered nonetheless. "I just seem to have a lot of stamina. Seeing you're tired right now means you don't have enough stamina to perform the exercises we do." Kasumi got confused. "What kind of exercises?" Naruto sighed and said, "Me and Sasuke start with 5 push-ups, sit-ups and jumping jacks. Then we run around the training ground 2 times. We increase it by adding another 5 on the exercises and 2 on the rounds every 2 weeks. Kasumi was surprised and asked, "How long have you guys been training?" Naruto said, "I have started since I was 5 with Sasuke and Hinata." Kasumi looked down since she was 5 and started training when she had gone to the academy. Hinata, Sasuke and Naruto looked at her and they seemed to read her mind and knew exactly what she was thinking. Sasuke spoke up, "Nei-chan, we will help train you like us." Naruto followed, "You are our friend Kasumi-chan and we will help you train." Hinata continued after Naruto, I may not be as good as Sasuke and Naruto-kun, but I will help you as well." Kasumi was surprised. They had only known each other for a year and they were the only ones who had never left her side. She asked, "Really?" The 3 of them nodded and Kasumi seemed to have found a new family. Naruto continued, "I will train you in chakra control." Sasuke spoke after him, "I will train you in the Uchiha intercepting fist style." Hinata followed after him and said, "I will train you in Shuriken Jutsu." This was the second time Kasumi was genuinely happy. She gave a smile and said, "Thank you, my friends." Naruto then pumped up his fist and shouted, "All right, let's start." Kasumi giggled then nodded. End flashback. "Alright class, now we will grade your taijutsu style. You will fight Mizuki since I will be the one grading you. You have to survive or defeat Mizuki in 5 minutes. Any questions?" Iruka asked. No one answered, which made Iruka call out the first person, Shino Aburame. Time passed and most of the clan heads had survived Mizuki for 5 minutes. Nobody had beaten him yet. Iruka called out, "Hinata Hyuga." Hinata stepped forward and activated her Byakugan. Since the usage of the Byakugan was considered taijutsu, she could use it. Once Iruka called out, "Go," she ran to Mizuki and made sure he was in her divination. She went into a stance and called out, 8 trigrams, 16 palms. She blocked Mizuki's chakra pathways and gave him a kick on the side of his stomach, making him fall down. Iruka called the match to be in Hinata's favor and she unblocked Mizuki's pathways. Once she arrived back, she saw Naruto praising her. She blushed madly at her childhood crush before she fainted. Naruto paled and mumbled, "Why does she faint, whenever I praise her?" Sasuke shook his head and said, "Naruto, you're way too oblivious." Kasumi giggled but nodded at what Sasuke said. Naruto then asked, "What's that supposed to mean?" Sasuke waved him off and waited for his turn. Few minutes later, Hinata woke up and it was Kasumi's turn. Kasumi stood opposite Mizuki with her long black hair loose, with her dark eyes looking at Mizuki, waiting for Iruka to say start. She was currently wearing a dark blue-colored garment extending to her thighs with a black sash tied around her waist. Once Irika said, "Go," she ran towards Mizuki in the Uchiha Taijutsu style and punched him in the face, making him unconscious. Irika asked the nurses on standby to take Mizuki to the infirmary. He then said, "Since there are only 2 people left, they will do a one-on-one against each other." Once everyone agreed, Irika called out, "Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha." Naruto and Sasuke walked to each side and stood opposite each other. Naruto activated his rinnegan for enhanced vision while Sasuke activated his Sharingan for the same. The others except Hinata and Kasumi gasped and started whispering about Naruto having another type of Jujutsu. Flashback no Jutsu Wish. 2 years ago. Outside Training Ground 44. "Hey guys, doesn't this place look so cool?" Naruto exclaimed. Naruto was staring at a barricaded area which had one of the tallest trees he had ever seen. "It does," Kasumi said. "Let's go check it out," Naruto said as he walked near a gate. Before he opened it, Hinata touched his shoulder and said, Doesn't it look dangerous?" Naruto smiled and said, "We will stick together then to help each other out, alright?" The others nodded and they went in the forest. They didn't see the post right behind them which said, "The Forest of Death, enter at your own risk." In the Forest of Death. Naruto and the others were walking past the trees. They didn't see anything dangerous, so they calmed down. After they walked another mile or so, they saw something wriggling in the trees. They got ready and waited for it. A few seconds passed by and the wriggling went. Suddenly, a creature appeared who was a good 9 feet tall and resembled a cross-breed between a centipede and a praying mantis. Its forearms were shaped like giant scythes, while it was as long as 25 meters. It ran straight towards the squad. Naruto and the others jumped aside and made a cross-hand sign calling out, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." 10 shadow clones popped out and they ran towards the mixed breed. They held the mantis still. He looked at each of his friends and saw they were winded but didn't fall to the ground. The praying mantis suddenly broke free and charged at Kasumi. His scythe pierced her stomach, making her drop and scream at the pain. Sasuke saw that and ran towards the creature, making hand signs, and called out, "Fire style, fire dragon bullet." A dragon came out of his mouth and shot at the creature. The creature screamed at the pain it received from the jutsu, then went on a rampage and pierced Sasuke's legs. Sasuke cried in pain. Naruto watched this and couldn't move. Ishido screamed at him, "Naruto!" Naruto snapped out and activated his rinnegan. He then raised his hands and faced it towards the hybrid and called out, "Deva Path, Universal Pull." The creature pulled back towards him. Once the creature was close enough, he called out, "Human Path, Art of Soul Absorbing." The King of Hell appeared and sucked the hybrid's soul inside him. The creature fell down and went numb as if it wasn't alive anymore. Naruto then created another clone. The original went to Kasumi while the clone went to Sasuke. Naruto summoned the King of Hell and they both were dragged in his mouth. Hinata saw that and ran to Naruto to ask, "Naruto, what is that? And why did it take Kasumi and Sasuke?" Naruto looked at her and said, "These are the powers of the rinnegan. The King of Hell just took Sasuke and Kasumi in so that they can be healed. It's one of the abilities." After some time, Kasumi and Sasuke walked out as if nothing ever happened. Sasuke asked, "Naruto, how are we healed and your eyes?" Naruto turned to them with a smile and said, "This is the rinnegan. It has powers similar of the Sharingan and Byakugan. One of my abilities are I can heal the injured almost instantaneously. If they are in the King of Hell, the figure which you walked out of. I didn't want to tell you this so you can measure my power. I did to prove my trust. This is a secret only I can show to whom I like. It was declared by my two-san. You are my friends that I trust. So I ask you this. Could you keep this a secret?" Sasuke, Hinata, and Kasumi smiled at him and nodded. Suddenly, They all came and hugged Naruto, and Kasumi said, "We are glad you trust us, Naruto, and we will keep your secret." Naruto hugged back and smiled. End flashback. Go! Iruka said. Naruto and Sasuke ran at each other. Naruto raised a finger and tried to hit his neck. Sasuke dodged and swept Naruto from his legs. Naruto caught his fall and backflipped, still standing. Sasuke was the one that started running and tried to punch Naruto, to which Naruto jumped above him and touched his neck pressure point, making Sasuke paralyze, and then landed. Sasuke fell on the floor and winced since he couldn't move. Once Iruka called the match in Naruto's favor. Naruto unparalyzed Sasuke, making him get up, rubbing his head which was still hurting. Sasuke then spoke, "That taijutsu style is terrifying." Naruto grinned back and replied, "I could make it pain a lot worse." Sasuke shivered as he knew what he meant and asked, "Could you teach me the paralyzing move?" Naruto nodded and said, "I will teach it once we graduate and meet next time." Sasuke nodded. Iruka then walked to the students and cleared his throat before he started speaking. "Everyone, we will start with the Shuriken Jutsu." With that, Iruka called out the students one by one. Once everyone completed, Iruka announced, "First place goes to Naruto and Sasuke." Both of them hitting all 10 shuriken and kunai on the bullseye. Naruto and Sasuke fist bumped while Iruka continued. Second place goes to Kasumi and Hinata. Both of them hitting 9 shuriken and 10 kunai on the bullseye. Hinata and Kasumi high-fived again. Iruka finally announced, third place goes to Shikamaru Nara, with him hitting 8 shuriken and 10 kunai on the bullseye. Shikamaru sighed and said, "This is such a drag," and went back to cloud watching. Everyone else sweat dropped at the reaction. Iruka then spoke to break the silence, "Alright, class, head back to class for the ninjutsu portion." Once everyone arrived, Mizuki opened the door and walked in as well and stood behind the chair. Iruka spoke, "Alright, everyone, come inside when I call your name. If you pass the ninjutsu test, you graduate." Everyone nodded and walked out of the classroom. While everyone was getting their names called, Naruto spoke, "All the best, guys, we are going to ace this exam." Sasuke, Hinata and Kasumi nodded. After his friends passed with their headbands on their foreheads, Naruto's name was called. Naruto opened the door and walked in. Naruto then stood in front of Iruka and Mizuki. Iruka spoke, "Well, Naruto, perform the substitution, transformation and a clone jutsu." Naruto did a seamless substitution and substituted with the log beside him. Naruto then transformed into his father, and last he performed his signature shadow clone jutsu and created 3 shadow clones. Iruka clapped and said, "Well done, Naruto, here is your leaf headband. Meet with us next week for your team selection." He handed the leaf headband to Naruto, and Naruto took it with joy and ran out with Ishido yipping on his head. Once he caught up with his friends, he said, "Looks like we all passed." The group nodded while they were waiting for their parents. Once they left, Naruto was waiting for his mom until he heard a familiar voice, "Hey Naruto." Naruto turned around to see Mizuki and asked, "What is it, Mizuki-sensei?" "Your father has decided to give you a secret exam. If you pass it, you will get promoted to Chunin." Naruto looked at Mizuki and thought, "My father said there were no secret exams. He would have told me before I left either way. I should play along." After a while he asked with excitement in his voice, "What do I have to do?" Mizuki inwardly grinned but answered, "Simple, you have to steal a giant scroll in your house, learn a jutsu and wait for me outside to test you. But remember, do not tell anyone or the exam fails." Naruto nodded and said, "Consider it done, Mizuki-sensei." With that, Mizuki left, which made Naruto go deep into what Mizuki had said. "He is trying to frame me into stealing the scroll of seals. You should ask your Tusan to how you should capture Mizuki," Kurama said. "I will talk with him once Ka-chan comes and we go to the Hokage's office." Kurama gave a grunt as an acknowledgement and went back to sleep. After a while Kushina came and said, "Naruto, looks like you graduated. Let's go home." Naruto nodded but said, "Before we go, can we go to Tusan's office?" I have something important to talk with Toussaint. Kushina nodded and they shunshined to the Hokage's office. At the Hokage's office, Minato and Hiruzen were discussing about the team placements. Until they heard a knock on the door. Naruto and Kushina came in. When Naruto saw his surrogate grandfather, he couldn't help but call out, "Gigi," and ran to hug him. After Naruto broke the hug, Minato said, "Congratulations Naruto, you passed," as he pointed at the headband. Naruto smiled and said, "Thank you, Toussaint, but that's not what I came here for." Minato got confused but asked, "What is it Naruto-kun?" Naruto got serious and said, "Mizuki has betrayed the village." Minato got serious and asked, "Are you sure?" Naruto nodded and explained, "Today before Kachan picked me up, Mizuki came and told me about a so-called secret test that is to promote Yuchunin. The test is to steal the scroll of seals in the basement and bring it to him outside of the village." Minato and Hiruzen were both equally shocked as to why would Mizuki do this. Minato smiled and said, "Well Naruto, it's time you got your first mission. Your mission is to take the scroll of seals and bring it where Mizuki told you to go. Once there you need to capture Mizuki and interrogate him there. After you finished interrogating him, my ANBU will carry him to the Leaf Police Station. This is a secret B-rank mission, understood?" Naruto nodded. Inwardly he was excited for his first mission. After a moment he smiled and said, "Thank you, Toussaint," and with that he left with Kushina. "Do you think he will be able to interrogate him?" Hiruzen asked, making Minato chuckle and said, "He made a Kumo Jonin into a crybaby after Naruto was done with him when he was 5. Hiruzen paled. He heard that Kumo Jonin were tough and Naruto made them into a crybaby. He laughed and said, "I think I just realized why you call Naruto special." Minato grinned at Hiruzen before going back to the team selection. At night, outside of Konoha, Naruto was in blue shirt and pants for camouflage. He was carrying the scroll of seals on his back and was waiting for Mizuki. He got bored and thought, why not learn another jutsu? He opened the scroll again and learnt the next jutsu on the scroll, the Bringer of Darkness jutsu. The jutsu was created by the second Hokage to blind the opponent. The reason for it being in the scroll of seals was for its heavy chakra consumption and it's impossible to release. "What do you think, Kurama?" Naruto asked in his mind. "It suits well with your death fist style since you can blind the opponent and paralyze him as well." Kurama said, "Okay, I will learn it then," Naruto replied. After a while Mizuki came. Naruto then said, "Mizuki-sensei, I have finished a jutsu. What do I have to do now?" Mizuki smirked and said, "Very good, Naruto. Now let me take the scroll and I will take it back to the village." Naruto inwardly grinned and said, "I will just carry back to Toussaint." Mizuki's smirk disappeared and threw a shuriken while saying, "No you don't." Naruto turned to Mizuki and said, "I knew you were a traitor. Now tell me, who do you work for?" Mizuki replied. "Like I am going to say anything." Naruto glared at Mizuki and said, "I asked nicely. Now you are going to speak by your own will after I am done with you." Naruto started making hand signs and called out, "Genjutsu, Bringer of Darkness." The genjutsu easily enveloped Mizuki, who was trying to release it. Naruto quickly ran towards Mizuki and pressed his neck pressure point, paralyzing him and making him fall down. Once the genjutsu dispelled, Mizuki asked, "What are you going to do now?" "I won't tell anything." Naruto grinned evilly and walked towards him. He pressed the 2 pressure points on either side of his waist and thighs. His body started contracting and Mizuki began screaming in pain. He wanted to stab himself with a kunai to end the pain but was paralyzed. Naruto bent and looked to him while his blue eyes were as cold as ice. He then said, "Your body is contracting at a fast rate. You will be in pain for 3 days before you die. Now tell me, who do you work for?" Mizuki couldn't withstand the pain and was on the verge of tears. He gave the answer, Orochimaru was after the scroll of seals. Naruto nodded, then asked, "What else do you know about him?" Mizuki started crying and said, "That's all I know, nothing else. Please release me." Naruto nodded, then he pressed the pressure points behind Mizuki near the spine and the pain stopped. He snapped his fingers and ANBU dropped down from the trees. He then walked to an ANBU with a dragon mask and said, "Mission complete, take him away." The ANBU nodded and the other ANBU captured him. Naruto then picked up the scroll of seals and shined to the Namikaze compound. At the Namikaze compound, Minato was pacing up and down in his study, waiting for Naruto to come. He was stressed that he might have made a wrong decision. Suddenly, he sensed his chakra and said, "I see the mission is complete." Naruto smiled and nodded. He then spoke. Mizuki was working for Orochimaru. "That's all I know." Minato smiled and said, "I am proud of you, Naruto." Naruto smiled at the praise, then walked out of the office to his room to sleep since it was a long night. Chapter 11. Next week. At the academy, Naruto and Hinata were sitting in the back with Shikamaru next to them. They were fine with Shikamaru sitting since he was very quiet and was sleeping most of the time. Sasuke and Kasumi were sitting in front of Naruto and Hinata while Kiba was sitting next to Kasumi. He was currently trying to ask Hinata behind him to go out with him sometime, but Hinata declined. Suddenly they heard running from the hallway. The door opened and they found Ino and Sakura in a race again. "I won!" Sakura exclaimed. "No, I did. My pinky is longer than yours." Billboard brow. Ino fought back. "Oh yeah. My whole foot is in." Ino pig. Sakura screeched. Sakura then ran to Kiba and screeched, "Hey, get up. I am sitting next to Sasuke-kun and Kasumi-chan." "Oi Sakura, calm down, we have a fox in the class and foxes have high sense of hearing," Naruto called out to Sakura. Everyone looked at Ishido on Naruto's head and he was whimpering, trying to force its ears into Naruto's hair. They turned to Sakura, who seemingly calmed down and stopped screaming. She simply huffed since she couldn't sit next to Sasuke-kun. Kasumi looked at Sakura with an "Are you serious?" expression. She didn't get what made her brother so handsome. She looked at Sasuke, who looked at her and mouthed out, "Fangirls." Kasumi knew what he said and blushed a bit since she had a bit of a fangirlish attitude to a certain blonde male after years of being with him. She shook her head since she knew it was just a crush which girls seem to have at her age. Kiba was still not agreeing with Sakura as to what made Sasuke have so many girls. He jumped on the table and faced Sasuke face to face. "Kiba, will you stop eyeing my brother like that?" Kasumi said. Kiba didn't pay attention to what Kasumi and was still staring at Sasuke. "What? I don't believe it." A boy in front of Sasuke said, jerking his elbow, which made Kiba lose his balance. "Sorry about that." He apologized without looking. Suddenly, smooch. Kasumi, Naruto, and Hinata looked at Kiba and Sasuke, their eyes as wide as dinner plates. They were kissing. Sasuke and Kiba saw the faces of other people and pulled back, their faces red in embarrassment. Kasumi grinned and said, "Looks like my brother found a boyfriend." At that phrase everybody laughed except for Sasuke. Sasuke was still red and sputtered, "That's not true, Nasan." Kasumi giggled. Suddenly the classroom was swarmed with killing intent. It was directed to Kiba. Kiba was gulping when he saw the fangirls. They were downright furious and surrounded him. Naruto and Hinata only winced at the punches and kicks he was getting. Don't go on the wrong side of fangirls, were everyone's thoughts. Iruka opened the door and saw the situation. He activated his big head jutsu and screamed, "Settle down now, brats." The girls went back to the seat, revealing a beaten-up Kiba who was walking to his seat. Iruka cleared his throat and spoke, "All right class, all of you are wondering where is Mizuki. He was apparently a traitor and was sent to prison." Everyone except Naruto was shocked. Iruka spoke again, "Now I am calling out the teams. Team 1. Naruto zoned out until he heard his friend's name call out. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha. Your sensei is Obito Uchiha. Naruto, Hinata and Sasuke high-fived. Kasumi was sad since she didn't get to be with her friends. Naruto saw this and said, "Don't worry Kasumi-chan, we still have weekends to train, won't we?" Kasumi smiled and said, "Thanks Naruto." Iruka continued. Team 8, Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno and Shino Aburame. Your sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Kiba and Sakura both groaned since they didn't be with their favorites, while Shino just sighed. Team 9 is still under circulation with Might Guy. So, Team 10, Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Shikamaru, Ino and Choji just nodded since they had to be the next Ino Shikacho trio. Yakumo Kurama will be taken as an apprentice by Kurenai Yuhi and Kasumi Uchiha will be taken as an apprentice by Tsunade Senju to be trained as a medic. Nin. Kasumi's eyes widened. She had been taken as an apprentice by a legendary Sannin who was a rival of the Uchiha clan since she is in the Senju. She wasn't expecting that, so she smiled at Team 7 who smiled back at her. Naruto said, "Congratulations Kasumi-chan. Taken by Tsunade-ba-chan means that you have done extremely well. I told you that something good will happen." Kasumi had tears in her eyes and said, "It would not have happened if you haven't trained me." "I thank you guys very much." Naruto waved it off and said, "Kasumi-chan, we are your friends. We would never abandon you. You have Sasuke as well as your brother and Hinata as a fellow awesome kunoichi." The other two mentioned nodded while Hinata was blushing at the praise. It was indeed true, after her late father had died. She was treated with care by her new family. Her late father didn't even pay attention to her. She was secretly happy her intruder had given her a wonderful life. Iruka coughed and said, "Now you can go for your lunch and meet back here in 1 hour so your senseis can come and pick you up." With that Iruka left the class, leaving the class back into a commotion. Naruto spoke up, "Hey guys, why don't we go to Ichiraku's?" Hinata, Sasuke and Kasumi nodded and left. 1 hour later. Team 7 and Kasumi just came back and are in the class chatting about what missions would it be. They waited for their senseis to come. They saw many senseis. Team 10 meet me at the Akimichi barbecue restaurant in 10 minutes, Asuma said. Yakumo Kurama meet me at training ground 13 in 5 minutes, Kurenai said. After some other senseis came, Tsunade appeared. Naruto waved at her and asked, "Hey Bachan. How's it been?" Tsunade scoffed and said, "Don't call me that, you brat. And to answer your question, I am doing good." Naruto chuckled while others' sweat dropped since Naruto called Tsunade Bachan and wasn't beaten to a pulp because of that. Tsunade then became serious and said, "Kasumi Uchiha meet me at Konoha's hospital in 5 minutes, she then Shunshineto the hospital." Kasumi then got up and said, "Well, see you guys." Team 7 nodded and she ran to the hospital. After a while Kakashi and Obito came together. Kakashi started, "Team 8, meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Ja na." He then shunshined. Team 7, meet me at training ground 7 in 10 minutes, Obito said then shunshined. Ishido then spoke, "I forgot I have training with Tusama. I will see you later guys." With that he poofed. "Let's go, guys." The others nodded and they ran to training ground 7. At training ground 7. Obito was currently sitting on a log waiting for Team 7. He had personally asked to train them since he knew they had potential and all of them have a dojutsu. He was surprised Naruto had a dojutsu since his sensei told him because he was the team leader and had to know. After a few minutes Naruto, Hinata and Sasuke appeared in the clearing and they didn't seem to be winded. Obito inwardly smirked and thought, "Incredible stamina, perhaps I should start the test now." Once Team 7 stood in front of him he spoke. "Alright, since we are a team, let's introduce ourselves like likes, dislikes, your hobbies and dreams. Let me start, my name is Obito Uchiha, I like Minato-sensei, my teammates and my clan. I dislike traitors, rapists and paperwork. My hobby is training and my dream is to help you guys achieve your dreams. Once he finished, Naruto spoke, "You were the one with the orange glasses?" Obito nodded and Naruto grinned, "Do you still have dust in your eyes?" Obito chuckled nervously and asked, "Who told you that?" Naruto's grin widened and said, "Kaka and I told me and said you were always making excuses." Obito slumped since now Kakashi and him were on friendlier terms. He then shook it off and pointed at Sasuke and said, "Go ahead." Sasuke then spoke, "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like my friends and family. I also like training and tomatoes. I dislike people who bully other people for their gain. My hobbies are training and playing with my friends. My dream is to become an ANBU commander." Obito smiled and said, "I'm sure you will." Sasuke smiled at the praise before Obito pointed to Hinata and indicated to go ahead. "My name is Hinata Hyuga. I like cinnamon bee buns, a certain someone, my friends and family. I dislike bullies and a certain seal. My hobbies are tea training and playing W with my friends. My dream is to get stronger and get rid of said seal." Obito frowned and said, "We have to take care of your stuttering Hinata." Hinata looked down but nodded. He then looked at Naruto and he started. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, Ishido, training, gardening, my friends and family. I dislike traitors and rapists. My hobbies are training, gardening and playing with my friends. My dream is to become the greatest Hokage." Once they all finished, Obito spoke, "You all have wonderful dreams and I am happy to be your temporary sensei." At that they all got confused, asked, "What do you mean by temporary sensei?" Obito chuckled and said, "Only 33% pass the actual Genin exam. The remaining 66% fail and repeat the academy or they join the Leaf Police Force." "The actual Genin test?" Sasuke asked this time. Obito explained, "The Genin test which you conducted a week ago was to select the candidates who are capable to do the actual test. Every sensei has a different test. As for me," he started and brought out 2 bells, "you have to get these bells from me. The person who gets the bell passes while the person doesn't fails. Ready, go." As soon as he said "Go," Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke ran to the trees and hid. A 2-man squad? That doesn't seem right. Unless he wants to. Naruto's eyes widened and created 2 shadow clones. "Find Sasuke and Hinata. Tell them the real meaning of the test." The clones nodded and ran to Sasuke and Hinata. With Sasuke. Sasuke was staring at Obito who was trying to find them. Suddenly he felt a pat on the back with a call, "Sasuke." Sasuke turned around to see Naruto and asked, "What's going on?" Naruto explained, "There is a hidden meaning to this test. It's teamwork. There aren't any 2-man Genin teams I heard of. The main count is always 3". Sasuke's eyes widened and asked, "Did you inform Hinata?" Naruto nodded and said, "I am just a clone. Another clone has gone to Hinata as well. Let's group up and form a plan." Sasuke nodded and the clone poofed. With Hinata. Naruto's clone explained the same thing to Hinata and she was on her way to where Naruto is hiding. With Obito. Obito saw Naruto's clones run toward Sasuke and Hinata. He figured it out that quick? Obito was surprised, his team hadn't figured it out until his sensei had given the answer. He smiled and thought, the new generation grows smarter than the previous generation. I wonder if Kakashi's team figured it out as well. He then waited for them to pop out together. With Naruto. Naruto was waiting for Hinata and Sasuke to come to his spot. He was eyeing Obito so he wouldn't vanish. Sasuke and Hinata then arrived. "Okay Naruto, what's the plan?" Sasuke asked. "We have to find a way to get close to Obito-sensei. He has spared with me. We have to somehow get to him without him noticing." His Sharingan ability makes him phase through any object. Sasuke and Hinata's eyes widened but nodded. If he phases through, that means ranged weapons won't work. We will have to stick to taijutsu, Sasuke said. Yes, but we have to outsmart him. Sasuke, you have to distract him with the fireball jutsu. Hinata, strike him near the chakra points whenever you have the opportunity. I will cast a genjutsu, which will blind him. Even if he is blind, but he can still sense chakra. So it will be tough enough. Once he has lowered his guard, I will strike him in the neck and grab the bells. Got it? Both of them nodded. Let's go. With that, Naruto ran towards Obito with Sasuke going left and Hinata going on the right. Naruto ran through the trees and jumped, landing right in front of Obito. He started making hand signs and called out, Genjutsu, Bringer of Darkness, and blinded Obito. He mastered the second's personal genjutsu. Impressive. I guess I have to up my chakra sense, Obito thought as he couldn't see anything. Suddenly he heard, fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. He sensed the chakra coming at him and dodged. He then heard, 8 trigrams, 32 palms. He activated his Kamui just in time to dodge. Suddenly he felt a touch on his neck and he couldn't move. The genjutsu dispelled and he found himself on the ground while Naruto holding the bells. He smirked and said, very good, Naruto. Now who are you going to give the bells to? Naruto threw the bells on the ground, smiled and said. We figured the hidden objective. It is teamwork. So you can pass us. After all, those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Obito laughed as he heard the same words being thrown back at him and said, very well, you pass. Team 7 fist bumped and then went to Obito. Naruto unparalyzed him and said, if it weren't for the genjutsu we would have probably had a tough time. Obito smirked and said, you probably would have, since the genjutsu you used is meant to disable the Uchiha. Naruto was shocked and said, seriously? I just thought you would break it with the Mangekyo Sharingan. Obito shook his head and said, the reason for the large chakra consumption is because it has to envelop the user itself. Naruto nodded. Obito continued, since you all have passed. We will start missions tomorrow. Meet me here at 8 a.m. in the morning at the same place. You are all dismissed. Obito then swirled towards the Hokage Tower. Hey guys, let's check if Kasumi has passed. They all nodded and ran to the Konoha hospital. At the Hokage Tower, Minato was waiting for the Jonin senseis to arrive. So far the senseis from Team 1 to Team 6 have arrived and each on failed. Suddenly, there was a vortex in the middle and Obito came out of it and said, Team 7, passed. Minato smiled at that. Kakashi then arrived by Shunshin and said, Team 8, barely passed. Minato got confused and said, explain. They failed the original test, so I gave them a secondary test. I tied one of the teammates to a log and asked them to not feed him. They fed him and they passed because they didn't abandon him, Kakashi explained, and Minato nodded. Asuma arrived via Shunshin and said, Team 10, passed. Minato nodded. Kurenai arrived and said, Yakumo Kurama has passed. Minato nodded. Tsunade arrived and said, Kasumi Uchiha, passed. Minato nodded then spoke. 2 apprentices and 3 teams have passed. Dismissed. The senseis all left. Minato then smiled and went back to calligraphy while thinking, maybe I should teach him the Rinnegan. At the Konoha hospital. Excellent work, Kasumi. You passed. Kasumi smiled and said, it's thanks to Naruto and Sasuke Nizan. When we go sparring they always ask me to practice my medical ninjutsu on them. Tsunade smiled and said, that is always good experience to heal your friends after a spar. That is an extra reason for you to pass. Now you have finished your dismissed. With that she shunshined to the Hokage Tower. Once she shunshined, Kasumi went out of the hospital. She was about to go to the Uchiha compound and wait for Sasuke until she heard Naruto with said person next to him. Kasumi-chan, did Bachan let you pass? Naruto said. Kasumi smiled and said, yes she did. How did your test go? Naruto laughed and said. Piece of cake. We just had to work as a team. Sasuke and Hinata nodded in agreement. Anyways, you guys want to train? Naruto asked. The others nodded and ran towards the training ground. At the Hokage's training ground. Naruto and the others arrived at the training ground. They just finished their warm-up and switched to sparring. Hinata and Kasumi were sitting on the side next to each other. Are you ready, Sasuke? Sasuke nodded and got in his style. Naruto was in his style as well. They both rushed at the same time. Sasuke swiped at Naruto's hands while Naruto blocked him but winced as he realized Sasuke was using chakra-enhanced attacks. Naruto let his guard down. Sasuke then kicked him on the side, sending him flying into Hinata and Kasumi at an alarming rate. Kasumi and Hinata were shocked enough to not move. They stood up but Naruto hit their knees, making them fall on him. Sasuke then ran, saw the predicament and said, I might have overused the chakra making you fly. Hinata and Kasumi got up but their faces were as red as a tomato seeing as they realized who they were lying on. Naruto got up, his expression nothing different as he was red as well. After a while he got up and said, sorry Sasuke, Kasumi-chan, Hinata-chan, I just remembered my father calling me. With that he ran to his house, his face still red as he thought, why am I feeling this towards Kasumi-chan and Hinata-chan? They are just friends, right? Looks like you got feelings for them, Kit. Kurama said, yeah, but can I like two girls at the same time? Naruto asked. If I am not mistaken, you and your mom are the last known members of your clan. You could do the CRA, Clan Restoration Act, and take multiple wives, Kurama said while Naruto nodded. I could ask them out but it would be weird since Sasuke is a friend of mine, Naruto said. Sasuke would prefer you to marry her since he knows you very well, Kurama said. Maybe it isn't a bad idea. I should probably ask them out soon, Naruto said. You do you, Kit, Kurama said before going back to sleep. Back with Sasuke, Hinata and Kasumi. Well, that was weird. Normally he doesn't go unless it was something urgent. Sasuke shrugged, then turned to Kasumi and asked, should we go home, Nae-san? Kasumi was still red from the incident and said, you go ahead, Nae-san, I'll catch up. Sasuke nodded and left the training ground. Kasumi then turned to Hinata and they both said simultaneously, damn, Naruto-kun is buff. Hinata then glared at Kasumi and said, Naruto-kun is mine. Kasumi glared back but sighed, if we both ask Naruto-kun, he might take us both as wives. Huh? Hinata was confused. Naruto-kun can go into CRA if he wants to since he and his mother are two only members of the Uzumaki clan. Hinata got the hint and said. I am willing to share Naruto-kun with you, Kasumi smiled and said. I am willing to share him with you as well. Both of them were giggling with excitement since they both had the chance to be Naruto's wives. After a while they calmed down and Kasumi spoke up, we will ask him sooner or later. For now let us go to our compounds. Hinata nodded and they both left. At the Namikaze compound. Naruto came back, his face still red, and was sitting in his room. Kushina came in his room and grinned, so, my Naruto-chan has found a girlfriend, huh? Naruto sputtered, how did you now? Kushina's grin widened and said, mother's intuition, Naruto-kun. So who is the lucky girl? Naruto calmed down, his face still red, and mumbled something. What was that? Kushina asked, extending her here. Ata-chan and Sumi-chan, Naruto mumbled again. Who again? Kushina repeated. Hinata-chan and Kasumi-chan. Naruto exclaimed, then stopped as he realized he just shouted the names and started blushing madly. Kushina continued grinning and said, 2 girls, huh? Naruto nodded and explained what Kurama said about the CRA. After he finished, Kushina nodded and said, I see. If they are willing to share, I have no problem. Naruto smiled and said, thanks Ka-chan. I will ask them tomorrow. Kushina smiled, then went back down to make ramen for celebration. At Mikoto's house. Seriously, Nasan? Sasuke asked. Kasumi nodded and said, I love Naruto-kun. Sasuke grinned and said, looks like I have something to tease you with. Kasumi blushed and said, Nisan, please, this is serious? Sasuke broke the grin and nodded while saying, if you like him then you should ask him out. Kasumi smiled and said, I will ask him tomorrow. Suddenly they heard Mikoto giggling. Kasumi turned to see Mikoto standing. She started blushing madly while she heard Mikoto speak. I see you like Kushina's son. I have no problem since he has helped you all these years. Kasumi smiled as she got acceptance from her adoptive mother. At the Hyuga compound. You sure? Hayashi asked his daughter. Yes, Tusama, Hinata said. Hitomi grinned at Hayashi and lent out her hand and said, looks like I won. Hayashi sighed and gave her 5,000 ryo. Hinata was confused as to what happened. Hitomi saw her confusion and said. We were discussing when were you going to confess your feelings to Naruto. We have known for a while now that you had a crush on him. Hinata let a quick eep and started blushing madly and asked. Was it really that obvious? Hitomi nodded but said, I am happy you have found someone. Ask him out tomorrow as you just promised your Tusan. Hinata nodded and walked out of the room toward hers. At the Namikaze compound. At night. Minato just arrived and received the news of Naruto's potential girlfriends. He grinned and thought, he is a ladies' man exactly like me. After a while he cleared his throat and said, Naruto, before you go for your missions, I will teach you one of my jutsus. Naruto perked up at that and asked. What is it, Tusan? Is it your Hiraition? Minato chuckled and said. It isn't that, it is an A-rank jutsu. It's called the rinnegan. With that he created a blue ball of rotating and compressed chakra in his hand. Naruto looked at the ball of chakra with awe in his eyes and asked. It looks so awesome. It took me 3 years to invent it. Naruto's eyes widened at that. Minato saw the expression and said, the reason it took me 3 years because I had to create it from scratch. I made 3 steps to make it easier to finish. Naruto calmed down but gave a thumbs up and said. I will master it tomorrow, Tusan. Believe it. With that Kushina called them. Okay guys, ramen is ready. Naruto jumped in excitement and screamed, ramen, ramen. With that they ate their dinner. Next day. At the Hokage's private training ground. At 6 a.m. Minato and Naruto were currently in the Hokage's training ground. Minato was teaching him the rinnegan. He threw a water balloon to Naruto and said. Okay Naruto, the first step is to rotate the chakra until the water balloon pops. Naruto took a few seconds but the balloon popped. Minato was shocked as he took almost a week to master the first step. After a while he pulled out a rubber ball and tossed it to Naruto and said. The second step is to compress the chakra enough so that the ball pops. Naruto took a few minutes. But the ball either moved or just didn't pop at all. Minato saw this and decided to give him a hint. Try to focus the chakra at a single point. Naruto got what he meant and did as he was told. A few seconds later the ball popped. Well done, Naruto. He then tossed a normal balloon and said, the third step is to combine the rotation and compression and maintain it inside the balloon. If the balloon pops, you haven't mastered it. If you maintain the sphere then you have passed the third stage. Naruto nodded and concentrated on maintaining the balloon. He released chakra into a single point, expanded it, then started the rotation. He managed to maintain the balloon for 10 minutes before he dispelled it. Minato was beyond shocked. To think Naruto was able to master the jutsu in just a few minutes. He smiled and said, now try to maintain it without the balloon. Naruto nodded and created a smaller rinnegan. Naruto increased the chakra and rotation. The rinnegan became as big as his father's. He dispelled it and looked at his father's dumbfounded expression. Minato then spoke. If you manage to accomplish this in a second, it means you have complete mastery over the rinnegan. Naruto nodded, then created 50 shadow clones and had them practice on the rinnegan. Minato still was dumbfounded at the sheer amount of clones. His son just used it efficiently without even feeling winded. Minato shook of the feeling and said, "Well, since you almost mastered the rinnegan, you are dismissed." Naruto nodded, then Minato flashed away to his office. Naruto then ran towards to the Hyuga compound. At the Hyuga compound, Hinata was still nervous about asking Naruto out since she didn't know what he would say. She was about to leave towards the training ground when she heard said blonde's voice. "Hey Hinata-chan." Hinata eeped and turned to face Naruto, who was blushing as madly as her. He then spoke. "I was wondering if you would go out with me on the weekend." Hinata was dumbfounded. The man she loved finally asked her out. She smiled and said, "I would love to, Naruto-kun." Naruto felt a little bit easy and said, "Well, let's wait for Kasumi and Sasuke to arrive. I want to ask her as well." Hinata looked at him and said, "Me and Kasumi talked yesterday and we are willing to share our feelings with you." Naruto felt all the more happy since he won't have an awkward situation. They walked near the Uchiha compound and were waiting for Sasuke and Kasumi to arrive since Hyugas weren't allowed in the compound for their apparent rivalry. After a while they saw Sasuke and Kasumi coming. As soon as Kasumi saw Naruto, her face turned red. Once they came closer, Sasuke spoke, "Me and Nae spoke about it and I would like you to be her boyfriend." He then smiled at Kasumi, who eeped at the reply but continued, "I was wondering if we would go out sometime." Naruto smiled and said, "I asked Hinata-chan as well. Since you both are willing to come, why don't we all meet on a weekend?" Kasumi and Hinata smiled and both spoke simultaneously, "We both would love that, Naruto-kun." After a while, they split up and Team 7 headed to Training Ground 7. At Training Ground 7, they all arrived and were waiting for Obito to arrive. After he arrived, Obito said, "Wonderful, let's begin our missions." Chapter 12. 10 days later. In Konoha. "Fox here, target in sight," Naruto said. "Flower here, target in sight," Hinata said. "Sharingan here, target in sight," Sasuke said. "Alright, go," Obito ordered. Naruto sped in the direction and launched at the target. The target was a cat. "Target acquired," Sasuke said. "Let's bring her in," Obito said before he heard. "Stop scratching my face, you stupid cat," Naruto shouted. At the mission assignment office. "GG," Naruto shouted as soon as he entered. "Naruto, show the Hokage some respect, will you?" Iruka said. Hiruzen chuckled and said, "It's fine, Iruka-kun. I have known Naruto since he was born." Iruka sighed and Hiruzen continued, "Okay, Team 7, you have painting a fence, buy groceries for a civilian, cleaning a shed dash," Naruto interrupted. "MGG, can we get a C rank?" "We have done more than 25 D ranks," Hiruzen chuckled and replied. "Alright, Naruto-kun, you have to escort a bridge builder named Tazuna to Nami no Kuni and guard him till he finishes the bridge." After that he pressed on a seal and said, "Bring him in." The door opened to find a gray-haired, bespectacled man with a large beard and dark eyes. He was wearing a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants and a pair of sandals. He also carried a bottle of sake and said, "Who are these kids? The blonde hair looks like a stupid one." Everyone tensed as he had called the Hokage's son stupid. Naruto just flew past him and touched his neck, paralyzing him as he said with a sweet smile, "I'm sure I am more than capable if I have already paralyzed you." He then unparalyzed the man. The man gave a grunt and left, though he didn't deny he was more than capable. Obito sighed and said, "Pack your bags for 2 weeks' supply and meet me and Tazuna at the gate in an hour." Team 7 nodded, then sunshined back to their home. 1 hour later. At Konoha's gate. Naruto was chilling at the gate waiting for his teammates to come. He had used Fuinjutsu to create his storage seal and was now waiting for his teammates, Sensei, and that old guy Tazuna. Before they came he summoned Ishido. "Hey Ishido, how's it been?" Ishido wagged his tail and said. "The training was hectic but now I am even stronger." Naruto nodded and said. "We are now going on a mission to protect a bridge builder. You in?" "Of course Naruto, it's been a while since I have fought or spared." Ishido then jumped on Naruto's head when they saw Sasuke and Hinata coming. "Hey guys," Naruto said. "What's up Naruto, Ishido," Sasuke said then got confused. "Where is your backpack Naruto?" he asked. "Fuinjutsu is a thing you know," Naruto deadpanned. "Do you have scroll for us Naruto?" Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded and pulled out 2 scrolls and gave it to them. Sasuke and Hinata then sealed their backpacks in the scroll. They then sat down on either side of Naruto. Soon Obito arrived with Tazuna. "Where are your backpacks Team 7? They just pulled out their scrolls. Can I have one as well?" "Sealing scrolls aren't cheap," he asked. Naruto nodded and tossed him one. After he tossed him he just sealed his backpack while mumbling something about smart-ass blondes. He then packed the scroll in his pouch and said. "Alright guys let's move." With that Team 7 headed to Nami no Kuni. On the road. Team 7 and Tazuna were walking along the road. They noticed a puddle on the side of the road. Sasuke looked at Naruto who nodded then Hinata who nodded as well. Obito looked at them and understood that they noticed it. The puddle bursted with 2 chains which sliced Obito. They were 2 people. I had 1 horn while the other had 2 horns on his forehead. "One down," one of them said. "Let's get the brats," the other one said. Hinata activated her Byakugan and blocked his chakra points, making him stunned for a moment. Naruto rushed behind him and paralyzed him. Meanwhile Sasuke activated his Sharingan and dodged his blades. He then threw a kick to the stomach, knocking him out. Obito jumped down from the tree and said, "Good job Team 7, he then turned to Tazuna who was sweating bullets and said, "Explain." "I couldn't afford an A-rank mission. It was just too expensive and our country has been taken over by a business tyrant named Gato," Tazuna said. "Gato of the shipping company?" Naruto asked. "You know him?" Tazuna asked. Naruto shrugged but answered, "Tusan had mentioned his name the times I was in his office. He said something about him being a drug lord and needed to be assassinated but there was no proof so he dropped the case a year back." Tazuna nodded. "A year ago he arrived to Nami no Kuni and took control of the country. A few months ago he executed my daughter's husband Kaiza." Team 7 felt bad for Tazuna. Hinata stood up and said, "We will help you." Naruto and Sasuke nodded in agreement. They then looked at Obito who sighed and said, "I will help my team as well." With that they went back to the brothers. Obito nodded at Naruto to tell him to do his thing. He nodded and went to the paralyzed duo. "Who sent you here?" Naruto asked. "Like we will answer to you," one of the brothers said. Naruto grinned sadistically before he took of the person's gloves and pressed his knuckles. His hand slowly contracted into a fist before it shot at his partner. "Gozu, what did I do?" "Why are you punching me?" the other brother asked. "It's not me, my hand is moving on my own Meizu," Gozu said. Gozu continued beating Meizu. They both had never fought each other and now his brother was punching him. "Fine, we'll tell you. Just make him stop punching me," Gozu said. Naruto went to Meizu and touched in the middle of his knuckle making his fist slump. "Speak, otherwise it's going to be worse," Naruto said still grinning making Gozu and Meizu shiver from the grin. Gozu spoke. "Gato said he would pay us to kill the bridge builder. We needed the money to give to Zabuza." "Zabuza? The demon of the mist Zabuza?" Obito asked and Gozu nodded. "Why does he need the money?" "Because he needs it to ask the other villages for help in the Kiri civil war. It has gone too far and the 4th Mizukage has the bloodline rebels in his hand." Naruto thought for a second before he spoke. "I can ask Tusan to give you a loan. If the rebels win, we ask Kiri for an alliance. If they don't, we will ask the remaining shinobi to come to Konoha. In any way, it's a win-win situation. How will your father help us? Gozu asked. Naruto giggled and said, he is the fourth Hokage. Silly. Gozu and Meizu paled as they were about to assassinate the Hokage's son. Naruto then unparalyzed them and Obito came forward. Inform Zabuza about the loan. The demon brothers nodded and left to find Zabuza. At Nami no Kuni. Zabuza-sama. Gozu and Meizu said simultaneously. What is it now? Did the mission succeed? Zabuza asked. Gozu explained what happened. After Gozu finished, Zabuza's eyes widened and asked, you fought the Hokage's son and he let you go with a deal in hand? Gozu nodded. I will speak to the group, myself. Once we come to the conclusion then we abandon this mission. I don't like pointless bloodshed anyway. Let's go Haku. Haku nodded and both of them shined to the group. With Team 7. Team 7 and Tazuna just got dropped off by his friend in a boat. They were walking until Naruto heard wriggling in the bush. He flicked a kunai and went to check what it was. He found a white bunny frightened for his life. Team 7 knew exactly what it was. Duck! Obito called out. They ducked just in time to see a giant sword flying over their heads and get stuck to a wall. Zabuza then jumped on it with Haku beside him. As soon as Sasuke saw Haku, he had hearts in his eyes. Before he said anything Zabuza spoke. Well, looks like Gozu was right, you look exactly like the fourth Hokage. You said you had a deal? Naruto nodded and said, if you come with us to the Leaf. I can ask my dad to send some shinobi to the civil war. Zabuza thought for a while and said, deal. But for now I want to have a fight with the ghost. He then pointed to Obito who smirked and said, fine by me. Team 7 got back, Tazuna with them. Obito stepped ahead with Zabuza pulling his sword out of the tree. Both of them charged at each other. Zabuza struck his sword at him only for it to phase through. Obito materialized only to find it's a water clone with Zabuza behind him grazing his Jonin vest in the back as Obito reacted. Zabuza started creating hand signs and called out, hidden mist jutsu, with that a large foggy mist surrounded Obito. Obito activated his Sharingan to find Zabuza only for him to not see as the mist was too foggy. He started creating hand signs and slammed his palm on the ground, calling out, summoning jutsu. A bat was summoned. The bat looked around to find his master Obito. He asked, Obito-sama, what brings me here? Obito replied, Isoka-sama, could you track a man in this mist for me with your supersonic? Isoka nodded and expanded his senses. He stiffened and said, Obito, behind you. Obito, at the nick of time ducked only for him to escape the sword by a mere inch. Isoka sat on Obito's shoulder and waited if Obito needed help. Obito turned back to see Zabuza for a split second before he vanished in the mist. Obito looked at Isoka while him nodding. Isoka expanded his senses once again before he said, he is molding chakra, northeast. Obito turned to the direction and ran towards him. He stood on water trying to figure out where he went. Suddenly he felt a hand touch and found Zabuza encasing him in a water ball. Zabuza spoke. You did well. I will let you dash. Zabuza almost finished before he realized Obito behind him and in front of him as well. The Obito in the water ball poofed out of existence. Zabuza chuckled while raising his open head signifying surrender and said, I didn't expect that. You did well. Obito smirked and said. Well, got to live up to my title you know. Zabuza nodded. Obito retracted his kunai and Zabuza said. I will deal with that backstabbing prick before we meet again. Obito nodded before Zabuza called out. Haku. Let's go. Haku dropped down where she stood and they both shined to the hideout. Team 7 came out as well and they all carried along towards Tazuna's house. At Tazuna's house, knock knock star. Coming, spoke a woman. said woman opened the door. She became happy and said, "Two-san, you're back." Tazuna smiled and said, "Tsunami-chan, I promised to come back, didn't I?" Tsunami nodded, then looked at Team 7. "I suppose you are the ones who are protecting my father?" Tsunami asked while they nodded. "Welcome, it's not much but it's the least we can do for helping my two-san." Team 7 smiled and walked in. Tsunami then led them upstairs to their rooms. Once they all settled, Obito spoke up. "Alright guys, since we're here. I noticed a forest behind. We should train to improve before we meet with Zabuza tomorrow." The genin nodded and went to the forest with Obito behind them. In the forest. "Okay team, since you guys know basic to water walking chakra control, I guess you guys get your jutsu." With that Team 7 got excited. Obito pulled out a scroll with the kanji of lightning and threw it to Sasuke. "Sasuke, you will learn the lightning style, lightning senbon, a C-rank jutsu. Channel lightning chakra through the senbon and throw it keeping the chakra intact with the senbon. Go." Sasuke nodded and shined to practice his jutsu. Obito then walked towards Hinata and pulled a scroll with the kanji for water written. "Hinata, you will practice the water style, water whip, a C-rank jutsu which uses nature manipulation and manipulator water chakra into a whip. Move out." Hinata nodded and shined. The last member Naruto was still waiting for his order impatiently. Obito walked towards him and spoke. "Naruto, you will practice with your rinnegan. I have no scrolls of the Dojutsu, so you are on your own. Good luck. Go." Naruto nodded and went a bit further than his team split up from. Ishido dispelled to train a bit more in his realm. At Tazuna's house. In the evening. "Hey, Tsunami-san?" Naruto called out. "Yes Naruto," Tsunami replied. They both were currently in the kitchen making small talk. "Could I help you in cooking? I know a bit since my mom taught me," Naruto asked. "Sure Naruto-kun, it's always good to have a helping hand," Tsunami replied. After the food was ready, Tsunami called out her father and Inari while Naruto called Team 7. Once they came and sat, Naruto and the rest of Team 7 were talking about the Chunin exams next month, whether they should enter or not. They concluded saying that they should enter. They cracked jokes and started laughing. "Why do you guys bother to try so hard?" Inari suddenly called out. Team 7 were confused at the question. "Because we are shinobis and we are assigned to protect your father," Naruto replied. "No matter how hard you try you can't defeat Gato," Inari said and ran away with tears falling. "He lost his surrogate father and my soon-to-be husband a year ago," Tsunami started. "He tried to save this land from Gato but was publicly executed in front of Inari." Team 7 felt sad and looked down as they probably thought a child being lonely without a father. Naruto on the other hand was angry. "Gato is going to die," he thought and started wailing towards the front door. "Where are you going Naruto?" Obito asked. "I'm just going to blow off some steam Obito-sensei," Naruto replied then shined. Gato's hideout. The place was covered in blood and it was completely dark. Only one room had light, which was at the top. Clang. The sound of metal clashing with metal spread throughout the entire hideout. In the room was Gato and his personal bodyguard who just got his throat slitted. Zabuza had annihilated his forces and Gato was on his knees. "Please let me go, I will give you anything you want," Gato screamed like a little girl. Zabuza threw him 2 scrolls. The first had a deed to Gato's treasury, demanding Gato to release all the funds into the hands of Zabuza. The second had a deed to release all the women and men imprisoned in his hand. "Sign them, now," Zabuza said coldly. Gato quickly signed. As soon as he finished, his throat was slit. Zabuza took the now signed scrolls and shined. In Zabuza's room. "Haku, go to every treasury and grab all the money. Free the prisoners as well," Zabuza said as soon as he came. Haku nodded and shined. Zabuza then turned to the demon brothers. Go and find Obito Uchiha. The brothers nodded and left. At Tazuna's house. The lights were off and everyone became silent. Team 7 excluding Naruto had slept. Naruto hadn't returned and they thought he will be back soon. Obito was awake, pondering on some thoughts until he sensed someone. He quickly jumped and went in his defense stance. Calm down, Obito-san. We're here to take you to Zabuza-sama. He killed Gato and is waiting for you. Obito nodded and they all shined back. Back at Zabuza's room. Zabuza-sama, the prisoners are released and Gato's funds are in this scroll, Haku said and tossed a scroll to Zabuza. Zabuza nodded and heard another voice. Zabuza-sama. Obito-san has arrived, the demon brothers said simultaneously. Zabuza turned around and faced Obito. Gato is dead, here is the money. Zabuza started and tossed a scroll. Obito opened the scroll and his eyes widened. The scroll contained 486 billion ryo. The unbelievable amount was enough to start funding a village. He quickly sealed the money back in and said, 3/4 of this money goes to Nami while 30 billion will be given to you. The rest will be funded for the S-rank mission you can request. If it's denied, the money will be given back to you. Zabuza widened his eyes since never in his life had he been given 30 frickin' billion ryo. He covered his surprise quickly and nodded. We will leave within a week since we still have a mission. Zabuza nodded and Obito swirled away. 1 week later. At the bridge. Tazuna had just finished the bridge and was named the new daimyo of Nami no Kuni because of his act. Team 7 were with Tazuna at the bridge bidding their goodbyes. Inari finally realized that crying won't help at all as he saw his grandfather work. They named the Bridge of Freedom because of being free from Gato's wrath. Naruto and Team 7 gave their goodbyes and left with Zabuza and Haku. On the way to Konoha. Haku's your name, right? Sasuke asked. Haku nodded. Would you like to go out with me sometime? Haku was surprised as somebody wanted to actually go with her. Zabuza heard this and said, what can you offer to be with my daughter, Uchiha? Haku sighed at her adoptive father's overprotectiveness. I will protect Haku-chan with my life, even if it kills me. I will give her anything she wants and make her happy, Sasuke said. Haku blushed at the suffix while Zabuza thought then spoke, fine, but Haku has to agree first. Haku took this opportunity and nodded her head vigorously. Back at Konoha. Aha! Uno! Kotetsu called out. Oh come on man. You had the luckiest cards, Izumo whined. I see someone is jealous. Izumo was about to decline the statement before Naruto called out. Are you guys gonna cut it out? The Eternal Chunins looked at the now Team 7 with one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, Zabuza Mamachi and a girl wearing a green haori. The Chunin stiffened before Obito said, it's alright guys, he's with me. In fact, he wants to see the Hokage. The quickly relaxed and signed them in. At the Hokage's office. Should this year's teams participate in the Chunin exams? Hiruzen asked. They should as they are already powerful, Minato replied. What about Kasumi and Yakumo? Hiruzen asked again. Minato thought for a while before saying, Kasumi and Yakumo might be shifted and create some 4-man teams. Hiruzen nodded before the door knocked. Come in, Minato said. The door opened and Team 7 walked in with Zabuza and Haku. Gigi, Tusen I'm back, Naruto said. While I'm happy you're back, why is the demon of the mist and a girl in the village? Minato asked. Naruto explained and once he finished the Hokages were gaping at the 13-year-old blonde. So can we help him Tusan? Naruto asked. Minato thought then looked at Zabuza, we will have an alliance between Kiri in return? He asked. Zabuza nodded. I will have a few experienced Jonin and Anbu escorting you. For now you will have to wait after the Chunin exams are over since we are currently preparing for them. Zabuza nodded before speaking. I would also like my adoptive daughter Haku to be instated as a Konoha shinobi since it will be dangerous for her in the war. Minato thought before replying, since she doesn't have a background she can be instate without any questions. For you though, you will be under probation for a month since I can't let a mist ninja running around Konoha. Zabuza nodded. For now Team 7, Zabuza and Haku are dismissed. Obito give me a report on the mission. Team 7, Zabuza and Haku left leaving Obito to report the mission. Chapter 13. 1 month later. At the Hokage Tower. I, Obito Uchiha, nominate Team 7 which includes Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Hinata Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha in the Chunin exams, Obito said to the Hokage Minato Namikaze who nodded as approval. I, Kakashi Hatake, nominate Team 8 which includes Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame and Sakura Haruno in the Chunin exams, Kakashi said getting another nod. I, Might Guy, nominate Team 9 which includes Niji Hyuga, Tenten Higurashi and Rock Lee in the Chunin exams, Might Guy yelled while giving his signature smile and thumbs up, getting a sweat drop from Minato and the rest except for Kakashi. I, Asuma Sarutobi, nominate Team 10 which includes Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi in the Chunin exams, Asuma said and Minato nodded. I, Kurenai Yuhi, nominate Team 12 which includes Haku Yuki, Kasumi Uchiha and Yakumo Kurama in the Chunin exams, Kurenai said. Minato smiled and nodded recalling how the new team was made. Flashback no Jutsu Wish. 1 month ago. After Team 7 left Minato thought to add Kasumi and Yakumo to Team 7 and 8 or combine them into a duo squad before. Now since Haku has been instated as a Konoha shinobi, but he was still thinking as to who will be the sensei. He turned to Hiruzen who smirked. I know what you're thinking, he started, you're planning to combine those three into a group. Minato nodded and said, I do want to but I am still figuring out a sensei. Hiruzen thought before saying, I did get a request from one genjutsu mistress, Kurenai Yuhi to take a team. Since all the teams were taken, she was denied. She could take all those three since Kasumi and Yakumo no genjutsu and Haku has almost perfect chakra control. They can be combined to form a full genjutsu-only squad. Minato just got his doubt cleared from his predecessor. He smiled then called out, Kat, a purple-haired woman with standard ANBU uniform jumped down out of nowhere and crouched in front of the Hokage's summon, Kurenai Yuhi, Haku Yuki, Kasumi Uchiha and Yakumo Kurama. With a quick, yes, my lord, the ANBU shun shined. A few minutes later the door opened to find a fair-skinned woman with long black unkempt hair reaching her upper back and unique eyes which were red in color with an additional ring. She had the Konoha headband on her forehead and wore a red mesh armor blouse with the right sleeve visible. Her hands and upper thighs were wrapped in bandages, wearing regular shinobi sandals as well. She was none other than Kurenai Yuhi. She bowed and asked, You called me Hokage-sama? Minato nodded and replied. Indeed I have, you see we heard you wanted to acquire a team of your own, Kurenai nodded, we have just formed a team and it needs a sensei. 2 of them already know genjutsu while one could be efficient in it. Kurenai's eyes widened as she could teach her specialties to the entire team. We ask you this, do you want to take this team? Minato asked. Kurenai nodded while her insides wanted to make her scream in excitement. I agree to take this team, she said, perfect, Kurenai-san. They suddenly heard a knock on the door. The door opened to find Haku, Kasumi and Yakumo. You called us, Hokage-sama? They said simultaneously. Indeed, he started, I have called you here because you 3 have been teamed up and over here, he then pointed to Kurenai, is your sensei. The genin were looking at each other then said, we accept. Kasumi and Yakumo were fine since they were on neutral terms while they accepted Haku as a friend pretty quickly. Minato smiled then said, I, officially announce Genin Kasumi Uchiha, Genin Yakumo Kurama and Genin Haku Yuki as Team 12 under join Kurenai Yuhi. You are dismissed except for Kurenai. The genin left while Kurenai smiled, sensing no fangirlism in them. Kurenai and Minato said, getting her attention, you are to train them till the month ends and have them enter the Chunin exams. Kurenai was about to retort but Minato spoke again, they were already previously trained before you were chosen as an official sensei. I have full belief that they can go through the exams. I understand Hokage-sama, I will train them till the Chunin exams start, Kurenai replied. With the word dismissed, Kurenai shined. That went well as expected, Hiruzen spoke while reading a scroll. It did, Minato said. End flashback. Minato was about to dismiss them before Irika spoke, Hokage-sama, surely you cannot agree to this. I agree some genin are capable but some of them still need training. I get where you are coming from Irika-san, but they are not in the academy anymore. As far as I know, these jonin have given them rigorous training, Minato said. Irika's frown lightened then his face became neutral. He agreed then let Minato continue. Alright, all of your teams have been nominated, Minato started. He then gave 3 slips to each jonin, these are nomination slips. Give these to your genin so they can enter in the Chunin exams. Dismissed, with a nod from the jonins, they all left. With Team 7. Ga! Naruto yelled lifting his hands up in frustration, where is our sensei? He asked. Naruto-kun, sensei isn't late all the time, something must have caught up, Hinata said trying to calm down her boyfriend. If that's true, what is the reason, this time Sasuke asked. He probably is fighting some S-rank ninja and not giving us any fun, Naruto said slightly pouting. Don't be overdramatic Naruto. No S-rank ninja can just come into our village without getting detected, Sasuke said but slightly thinking it was a possibility. Hey guys. Obito suddenly said. Ah. All 3 of them yelled then turned around. Damn it sensei. Will you stop scaring us? Naruto exclaimed. Obito just shrugged it off then pulled out 3 slips and tossed one to each of them. I have nominated all of you in the Chunin exams, that turned the team's mood upside down. Really? Naruto asked to confirm. Obito nodded in confirmation and spoke, yes, I have. The exam is in a week and all of you are going to prepare for them. Meet up at 5 AM tomorrow for training revision. Ja-na. With that he swirled away. Team 7 walked to Ichiraku's as their original plan was to do so. On the way. Team 7 was walking until they saw a square-shaped box with eye holes following them. They all smirked as they knew who it was. They went to the box. Before they could open it, the box blasted with smoke coming out of it. Konohamaru, I think you put too much smoke, a voice called out. I can see that, Konohamaru replied. I can't see anything, a feminine voice called out as well. The smoke cleared to find 3 children. One had short spiky brown hair, blue eyes and a small chip in his tooth. The second one on Konohamaru's right-hand side had short brown hair with dark eyes and circular glasses. The female of the group had orange hair tied up into 2 very large big tails and dark eyes as well. Hey Konohamaru. Naruto started, you gotta try better than that. Anyways, who are your friends? Imudan Ise Gudan said. Moegi Kazumitsuri, Moegi said. Then they all got in a pose and said, we are the Konohamaru squad, simultaneously while Team 7 sweat dropped. Once it was over Konohamaru spoke up, hey boss. Getting Naruto's attention he continued, would you like to play ninja with us? Team 7 looked at each other before they nodded. They didn't mind playing ninja since it was good for stealth training to the younger generation. Count to 25 before catching us. Konohamaru said before the squad ran towards the left-hand side from where they were watching. Suddenly they heard an "ah" coming from the side where Konohamaru and the squad ran. Team 7 ran to check what happened. They saw 2 people. One had makeup on his face while wearing a black, baggy, full-body suit with a black hood covering his head completely revealing 2 cat-like ears on the top. He also wore a forehead protector with a different village symbol. The second person was a woman. She had dark blue eyes and sandy blonde hair, which was gathered into 4 consecutive pigtails. She wore a single light purple-colored, off-the-shoulders garment that extended to her thighs while a scarlet sash was tied on her waist. She also wore fishnet armor on her shoulder and legs. The same symbol was on her forehead protector which was tied to her neck. She was carrying a fan which was about the size of her. The boy held Konohamaru with one hand and his other hand was curled into a fist, indicating to punch him. "I'm sorry for bumping into you, sir. Could you please let me down?" Konohamaru said. "Kankuro, let the boy go. We don't want to cause trouble. What if our brother finds about this?" The girl said with a worried tone. "Calm down, Temari, this will get over quick." "This brat needs to be punished for bumping into me," Kankuro replied. "Hey! Let Konohamaru down, will ya?" Naruto said. "Why should I?" Kankuro asked. Naruto's tone went serious and his eyes hung in the shadow, "Because if you don't, you will not be going out from this village alive." The last word sent shivers to Kankuro. "Naruto," Kurama called out. "Kurama, how you've been?" Naruto asked. "Good as usual, but that's not the point." "What is it?" Naruto asked. "I sense one of my brothers." Naruto's eyes mentally widened. "Which one?" "Shikaku, the one-tail. He's behind you on a tree." Naruto turned around and looked up to see a boy with red spiky hair and cyan-colored eyes. He had dark black rings around his eyes representing lack of sleep and had the kanji for love on the left side of his forehead. He had a giant gourd strapped to his back. Kankuro and Temari looked at him, then at Gaara. Both of their eyes widened as they thought one question: how did he sense Gaara? "I see Shikaku has done a number on the boy," Kurama started. "What do you mean?" Naruto mentally replied back. "He has suffered from lack of sleep. It looks like his seal isn't as strong as yours either. Do you think we could seal Shikaku temporarily if he becomes unstable? The 5-pronged seal should disable if it to ever happen." Naruto nodded and mentally blocked Kurama for the time being. "Kankuro, you are a disgrace to our village," the red head spoke. But Gaara Kankuro started but was interjected by Gaara. "Silence, or I will kill you." Gaara then appeared in front of them out of nowhere. He turned to Team 7 and said, "I apologize for my teammates' rudeness." "It's fine, your name?" Naruto asked. "Gaara, Gaara of the Sand," Gaara replied. "So you're from the Sand Village, for the Chunin exams, I take it?" Sasuke asked and the Sand team nodded. Naruto smirked. "I bet this is going to be fun, isn't it, one?" Temari and Kankuro's eyes were wide even more. How did he know? Gaara's eyes widened, then gave an evil smirk. "Indeed, your name 9. Naruto Uzumaki. Namikaze, pleasure to meet you." Gaara nodded. "I shall have your blood, Uzumaki," he thought, then turned to the 2 sand shinobis. "Let's go, Temari, Kankuro." They nodded and sunshined out of there. Naruto turned around to Hinata and Sasuke. "Let's go, guys. We have Ichiraku's waiting." They nodded and left. In the bushes a very pale man was watching the scene. "Interesting, I sense that boy SSSS Sharingan has potential than the others. I will have him as my next vessel." With that he disappeared, leaving Snake slithering away. Next week. Oh God. No, I am late. Naruto screamed, quickly changing into his outfit, grabbed his swords and 4 ready pancakes from his plate and ran towards the academy. At the academy. "I'm sorry to be so late, guys," Naruto said, panting slightly. "The exams have not started yet, so it's fine. Let's go sign in our registrations," Sasuke said. Once they filled in, they were walking to the 3rd floor but stopped on the 2nd and they heard a familiar voice. "Hey! Let us in." Team 7 turned to see a green suit shinobi. Once they saw the bushy eyebrows they knew exactly who that was. "Hey, Lee!" Naruto called out. Rock Lee turned to see Team 7. He ran and hugged them, crying slightly, "Thank you guys for helping me. Because of Guy-sensei I have become a very strong shinobi." Naruto shook it off and smiled. "Hey, we're friends, right? It's no biggie, dude." Behind Lee 2 other shinobi came. One was Niji Hyuga, which Hinata recognized. The second one was a Kunoichi. She had black hair and gray eyes. She wears her hair in 2 Chinese-style buns on her head and her headband on her forehead. She wore a pink sleeveless blouse and dark green pants. "Ni-san, you are participating as well?" Hinata asked. "Don't call me that, Hinata-sama, and yes, I am," Niji replied. Sasuke noticed the Kunoichi stare at Naruto's blades. Naruto noticed as well. Once Tenten broke out of her stupor, she noticed stares from the blade holder. She nervously chuckled and said, "I'm Tenten Higurashi and I am a weapons specialist. I found Naruto's blades familiar." Naruto looked at his blade, then rubbed the back of his head while saying, "Yeah, these are my Ka-san's blades." "Who's your Ka-san?" "Kushina Uzumaki." Tenten's eyes widened. "No wonder, I find it familiar. It's repaired most of the times at my Two-san's shop." "What are you doing here, BTW? This is the second floor," Hinata asked. The team's eyes widened, then rushed up to the third. Team 7 arrived shortly after that. They walked in a large exam room with multiple shinobis. "Hey! Looks like the entire gang is here," a voice called out. The team turned to see Kiba walking with Sakura and Shino behind. They noticed Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji coming, as well as Kasumi, Yakumo and Haku. "Hey guys!" Naruto called out. "Sasuke Kun." Ino and Sakura called out. "Damn, this exam is going to be such a drag," Shikamaru called out. "Oh, quiet you wuss," Ino said, punching him. "Haku, you are taking the exams as well?" Sasuke asked. Haku smiled, "Of course I am, Sasuke-kun." Sasuke. K-kun? The 2 girls sputtered simultaneously. They then glared at Haku, who glared back twice as hard. "Will you guys calm down? You're getting attention from the others, you know," a person said, walking up to them. He had onyx eyes and gray hair kept in a ponytail. He wore black-rimmed circular glasses and the Konoha headband on his forehead. The teams looked at the other audience, who were sending killing intent at them with subtlety. "So what?" Naruto started, "If we beat their asses, we get in their bingo book and even more popularity." Naruto ended with a laugh which made everyone except the 4 Konoha teams and Akusa Ninja think that, can he really beat us? "I like your style," the gray-haired man said. "The name is Kabuto Yakushi and I have participated in these exams before." He pulled out a bunch of playing cards. "I can help you out if you want." As soon as the name Kabuto was given, Naruto's mental state was practically screaming at him to report him to his Two-san right now. "Is this your second time, Kabuto-san?" It was Sakura that asked. "It is my 7th time," Kabuto replied. "Wow, you really must suck," Kiba commented. "Can you answer me this question, how many teams are in the exams, Kabuto-san?" Sasuke asked. Naruto's eyes widened. It seems Sasuke has picked up. Kabuto took a card from his deck, then channeled chakra to it. He then replied, "There are a total of 156 participants. 90 are from Konohagakure, 30 participants from Sunagakure, 21 participants from Amigakure, 6 participants from Kyuzugakure, 6 participants from Takigakure and 3 participants from Otogakure. Otogakure was recently developed. Hence, there is only 1 team from there. It's probably pretty weak." As soon as he finished, an Oto shinobi rushed at him and tried to punch him. Kabuto quickly dodged it, but suddenly his ears started leaking blood and his glasses cracked. What just happened, were the thoughts of the people in the room. Suddenly a voice spoke out, "All right babies, pipe down and listen up." There was a poof of smoke in the middle which revealed a large figure. His face was covered in scars and old wounds. He wore standard shirt and pants with a black long-length coat covering him. Once everyone settled down, he spoke again. "My name is Ibiki Marino, and I am the first proctor of the Chunin exams." Ibiki calmed down. "The first exam is a written test. The rules are that the time limit is 45 minutes of writing. If you are caught cheating you will lose 2 points. If you run out of points, you are expelled from the exam. If you go to the bathroom, a Chunin will follow you. On the test there will be 10 questions. 9 questions are given in the test, while for 10th you will have to answer orally." Everyone understood? They all nodded. "Then begin." "With Naruto." "Goddamn, this is a difficult paper. Some of these questions aren't even in the boo." "Wait a minute, they are expecting us to cheat? But who?" Naruto thought. He searched around. He noticed a shinobi with a jonin vest riding among the others. Naruto quickly made a shadow clone and transformed it into a fly. He then activated his rinnegan and put it under a genjutsu. His clone did the same and Naruto could see the answers and quickly started writing them. Once he finished he dispelled the shadow clones and waited for the exam to end. 45 minutes later. "Time's up, babies," Ibiki said. Everybody put their pencils down. Out of 52 teams 25 were expelled while 27 remained. "Now for the 10th question," Ibiki started. "Before we start you will have a chance to leave the exams." "Why would we do that?" a genin asked. Ibiki smirked. "You see, I am the proctor, so this is the most important question. If you take it and pass you will advance to the next stage. If you fail then you can never retake the Chunin exams again. If you resign now then you can retake the exams next year." A classic double bluff, Naruto thought while smirking. One by one, teams were going out of the room. After they left only 16 teams remained. "I repeat, do you wish to resign or take the question?" Ibiki said. When no one wanted to go Ibiki smiled and said, "Then congratulations. You pass." Everyone got confused. "But you never gave the 10th question," another genin said. "That was the question. It was the question of the guts you are willing to take into battle. If you have accepted the conditions then you are fit to become Chunin." Ibiki was about to continue. Suddenly a rock came flying through the window. Once it landed an arrow came as well and stuck to the rock like a banner which said, "The one and only sexy Enko Mitarashi." Thank you for watching the video, and comment down below if you want to see the next part. And of course, like, subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.